ladies and gentlemen, to the GSL. This is the Code A. You're watching live through GOM TV. And make sure you go to the polls, by the way, on gomtv.net. Vote for who you think is going to be the winner. Our next match is going to be OGS Finn, formerly ForGG, and he's going to be playing against NS Sage.
I have to admit that I've never been a big Brood War player, so you will obviously be the one talking about a little bit about ForGG.
Oh, I've got a few things to say about him, don't worry.
Yeah, I know, you already mentioned it when we were still at the GOM house. I heard Moltrip just Skype with a couple of friends. He was like, "You guys, you're not going to believe who I'm casting today." And yeah, I have to admit I'm more excited about the former Warcraft players. That's where I started casting, I think it was back in 2000 or 2002. With all those Warcraft players, I'm a lot more familiar than with the Brood War scene, so that's definitely something that he is talking about.
Yep. So what we're going to do first, though, we have to have a little bit of time for our players to set up in the booths, since we do have two matches going on at once. So we're going to just double-check, take another look at what happened in that last game between Select and Tassadar. This is, of course, jumping at the point where the proxy Stargate had been spotted. Select had shut that down, and he was going for a little bit of an attack. And I was talking about those with Doa during the break, actually. He's here watching the games. Select put a lot of pressure on here with his attack, but we're going to see in a minute how he tries to go up the ramp against Tassadar, and it was ends up being not a good thing for him, because then he's under some counter pressure. So he almost gets this sentry, and he gets force fielded out. But I'm not sure why he didn't know that there would be more force fields coming, but he tried to go up the ramp anyway, and it ended up losing a lot of units.
Especially without the stim, that was a really, really bad idea. He killed a bunch of sentries in the process, so it wasn't all too bad, but as you can see right there, he lost a lot of units as well. And at that point in time, Select, he had those two barracks, he invested a lot in that army, but Tassadar lost the Stargate. He didn't actually cancel it, he lost it, and he lost that expansion as well. So Select, being able to do a lot of pressure, should probably just have contained the Protoss player for a while expanding himself. That would have done him a lot more good, in my opinion. And here you can see how the forces of Select are being picked up by Tassadar.
Yeah, and he only got like 2 Zealots and an initial attack, and then when Tassadar countered, he only got 2 sentries and maybe another stalker. So he didn't kill enough units to make it worthwhile. And Tassadar, with 3 gateways, was able to put on a lot of pressure. And remember, Select's barracks was proxied at the bottom right, so he couldn't send units to defend. He was only defending with 1 barracks worth of units.
He tried to sneak into the main base of his opponent with a few of the Marauders in order to damage the economy of Tassadar, but the Protoss player did have none of that and was actually able to defend against it quite well. So Select, from that point on, under a lot of pressure. You all remember how he went trying to defend against that push of his opponent, repairing his supply depot not in time, and he was actually able to cancel that engineering bay. That was quite a nice trick that he didn't lose that, he canceled it, but at the same time the Protoss player already doing a lot of damage to the SCVs, to the supply depots as well. And Tassadar with quite an impressive pressure play, even though in the end he ended up losing a lot of his army. Here you can see those Marauders in the back being picked off by the defending forces of the Protoss.
And then Tassadar, here's the other thing that happened in that game. Tassadar obviously ended up winning anyway, but at this point, Tassadar had control. He didn't need to go up that ramp again, but he kept trying to break him, and I think the next attack is when he actually lost a lot of his units. Maybe, at some point during this whole fiasco. Yeah, so there's Tassadar. He did win eventually, though. So, anyway, just taking a look at the last game there. And, of course, you can always watch the VODs of our games on gomtv.net. If you don't want to watch the 2 sets of games at once, right now on the 2 different streams, then you can also go back and watch the VODs of the other stream later if you want as well.
And we mentioned it before, if you didn't do it already, then make sure that you catch the VODs from last week as well. There were some amazing games, and we just had the invite into the lobby. It will take a little bit longer until the players set up their gear and everything, but the first map is going to be Daybreak.
Alright, so ForGG. Okay?
Here we go.
It's a Brood War, professional Brood War player. Now here he is. He's on OGS, Old Generation StarCrafters. It's appropriate team for him to join. He's going by OGS Finn now. So to give you guys a little bit of a background on his playstyle in Brood War, and actually, first of all, there is his opponent. That is Sage. And you can see he actually got in very far in Code A in October and did pretty well. And just he got shut down in the round of 4 though by, I believe it was Oz. Oz really destroyed him in a PvP, so didn't do well there. Sage has got his work cut out for him, but he's been a very, very strong player, and we're going to talk more about him in just a moment. I think they're going to switch over, and we're going to see Finn in just a moment. But anyway, there he is, spamming it up, making sure he's got all his settings in order. He's got the little zealot cheering him on from that little tiny pedestal. But yeah, I mean, Sage. Sorry, thought I was pulling up his stats, but I don't have them quite available right now.
Well,
do you have those handy?
Yep, Sage actually has a 65% winning quota against Terran. He has 11 wins, 6 losses, and he won his last 2 Terran versus Protoss games. One against Bomber in the Arena of Legends, and he was able to win against Gumiho in the GSL October up and downs.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so he has done very well against some Terrans. Of course, Bomber isn't really what he used to be right now, so we can't quite say that he's got top-level PvT just from that victory. But he is a very, very strong player. And Sage, Sage is one of those guys where he was really, really hyped, and he hasn't quite shown up to the hype just yet. Now, here's Finn, OGS ForGG, of course, he's his old name. So, talk about this guy again real quick. So, he was a Brood War Pro, and he was one of those Brood War Pros that had kind of a flash-in-the-pan victory. He won a, I'm trying to remember if it was OSL or MSL. I think it was OSL. And he dominated that Star League. He beat Flash and Jaedong and Stork. Basically, he beat every one of the races. He beat one of the top players of that race on his way. I think it was Stork. It might have been Bisu. He beat absolute top-level players to win that Star League. He was absolutely dominant. And then he fell off the map and didn't really do very well after that. So it was kind of interesting. He had his flashing pen and didn't really do much after that. He joined KT and was supposed to be like a really good player for KT, but didn't really help them in the Pro League at all either. So he's an interesting player. So I'm curious to see how he's going to do here in Star 2 because, you know, MVP, he was at the top of his game. He was in the round of 16, round of 8 of Star Leagues in Brood War when he switched to StarCraft 2. ForGG had kind of fallen off a bit, so I'm not sure if we're going to see the Star League winner ForGG or if we're going to see the failure, you know, kind of fallen off of his game ForGG here in StarCraft 2. But you know what? He is basically, having been at that level, he's one of the few players that I can say is going to have the same level of mechanics as like an MVP has. So I'm really, really curious to see how he's going to do now that he's switched over. He beat his way into Code A the first time. We're going to get started here in just a moment. Sage versus Finn. Will the hyped Protoss player take the match, or will the former Brood War champion take the match? We're going to find out right now at the GSL. All right, and up here at the top right-hand corner of the map is our Protoss players from the team NS Hosa. By the way, the NS in NS Hosa stands for New Star, in case you're interested.
I actually didn't know that. There's a lot of stuff that I'm learning since I came to Korea.
And down here in the bottom left is the former Brood War champion. He beat the top in Brood War. Can he beat the middle of the pack in Sage here in StarCraft 2?
There was, by the way, as you mentioned, that NS means New Star. There's a lot of stuff that's too good to be retired. Here we go. Yeah, we'll see about that.
Yes, we will.
No, what I was about to mention is that since I came to Korea, I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't actually know. I'm sure that Tastosis mentioned that at some point. But while we are seeing that double barracks, okay, I'll throw that fact in a little bit later. I think we have some action coming up, so let's focus a little bit on Finn. He certainly doesn't show any respect to Sage, does he?
No, he doesn't. He wants to get an early advantage in this matchup by going for a very, very quick attack. Now, Sage has gone for a very early scout, and he's going to scout that there's no barracks in Finn's base, and we're going to see how he reacts if he thinks, okay, this is a proxy, or if he thinks, okay, this is 14 Command Center.
Yep, here we go. He's retreating. He obviously scouted with the probe after he threw down the pylon at 9. Here comes the chrono boost immediately for Sage.
Yeah, I think he knows what's up.
Yeah, he definitely does. At the same time, the command center attack to the orbital is going on for Finn. And there's another probe scouting that Marine. Sage is definitely aware of the situation there. The double proxy barracks.
Oh, and SCV is being pulled off the line for Finn as well. This is definitely an all-in, and Sage is not reacting to this very well. He's building a Cybernetics core and a Zealot, but he needs another Gateway or a Forge or something if he's going to hold this off, well, at least a Sentry, but he is not getting anything to really defend this rush if he knows what's coming. And there's the bunker being planted down. Now he's pulling probes.
He really needs to defend, to kill those SCVs, and here come the Marines trying to take down the probes as well as the Zealot. We have 18 probes against 12 SCVs. The economic advantage is for Sage, but still, here come the Marines. Will they be able to... Oh, this is going to be close, but he's killing a lot of probes right now, and as soon as that Zealot dies as well, Sage will be in a lot of trouble. Finn is down to 18 supply though, and is losing a lot of SCVs. The bunker not finished.
Oh no, the bunker's almost complete. He has one SCV left. He needs to complete that bunker. If he completes it and jumps his Marines in, he will basically be assured of victory, but the SCV is almost dead as well. Will he get the SCV? The bunker completes. 3 Marines jump in the bunker immediately, and this is crazy, but that Gateway is going to die. I don't think Sage can kill it.
But this game is not over just yet. We have that one bunker, and we have only 11 SCVs for the Terran player. Sage is supply blocked now. He is supply blocked, and he has only one Stalker, and that Stalker is about to die.
Couldn't quite micro it to victory.
GG!
Coming from Sage. Sage is not Tempest. He can't micro one Stalker against Infinity Marines in a bunker. Sorry, that's a Brood War reference there. There was a game once where a player got 23 kills with a 1 Dragoon microing against Marines. But OGS Finn has taken game number 1 and also put Sage on the defensive. And I'm really surprised that Sage didn't respond a little bit more emphatically when he realized what was going on. Maybe he didn't actually realize what was going on. He wasn't aware of how much he was being rushed, maybe.
But talking about cutting it close, I mean, that last SCV with 5 hit points just trying to get to the bunker in order to build it, to complete it, and the whole time the Protoss player just aimed for that SCV, and, well, Finn had to dance like crazy in order to finally complete that bunker, and that was just so close. If that Zealot would have been able to kill the SCV, that would have been game.
Yeah, and it was really, really close. The Marines killing the Zealot just before it killed the SCV. The SCV completing the probes even killed the SCV.
Dying in the process. True hero SCV.
Yeah, and that was really close because if that bunker hadn't completed, actually Sage, even though he lost a lot in that battle, he had a few more probes than Finn did. So he could have theoretically, if he'd gotten out a couple more Zealots, he could have theoretically tried to hold off, especially if he got Stalkers out. I mean, I was talking about how, he was getting the core, but nothing else. The core was obviously a good move to get because Stalkers are going to be good against the Marines, but yeah, if he'd gotten a couple Stalkers out and there was no bunker there, he could have microed against those Marines really well and possibly held that off. So, very, very close game.
Yep, quite entertaining as well. Okay, coming back to my original thought, by the way.
Go ahead.
One of the first things that I was actually told when I came to Korea and was in the GOM studio for the first time is that the symbol of the GSL of GOM resembles the claw of a bear.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I had no idea, and I didn't even know that GOM means bear.
GOM means bear, yep.
Exactly. That was and I was told that by Doa because we were talking about Korean food. We were talking about bulgogi, and bul means like fire, and gogi like meat. So he told me that, yeah, the fire bats in StarCraft Brood War were called bulgom because it means like fire bear.
The Marauders in StarCraft 2 are called Bulgom.
Okay. Doa, I blame you. I'm pretty sure you talked about the fire bat.
Maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure Marauders in the because in the StarCraft 1 units that are in StarCraft 2 are called, even in the Korean version, they're called Choguling, you know, Zergling. They're called Mutalisk. They're called Mutalisks. But the new
units,
like
Russian.
The new units, like the Marauders, actually have a different name in the StarCraft 2 client for Korea. So I'm pretty sure that the Marauders are called Fire Bears, Bugum.
Yeah, but that's basically how I ended up getting that piece of information. It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because now that logo makes a lot more sense.
All right, game number 2 is going to be on the map Belshire Beach. We're going to get started here in just a moment now. Finn has put Sage on the defensive mentally in this case as well by going for that early rush. Will he be able to keep it together and play his best, or will Finn take a mental advantage and defeat him through mind games? We're going to find out. Game number 2 is about to start here at the GSL Code A on GOM TV.